What's up guys, Excalibur here and welcome back to Star Ocean Anamnesis. So today, we'll be taking a look at one of the new characters, Youth Sophia. Youth Sophia is an ace sharpshooter with a very powerful long-range attack. Her first talent, Yearning, increases damage dealt for the entire party by 40% and increases single target damage by 15% for everybody standing at long range. So that single target damage is not really that special considering that most defenders already have that with bigger numbers, but it does allow her to fit into more parties. But the 40% general damage up is incredibly good, and it allows her to increase the party's damage output dramatically. And her second talent, Earnest Love of Learning, gives every long-range weapon ally a 90% chance of surviving a lethal attack at 30% HP or more, and increases their stun chance by 15%. This is one of the only party-wide Guts talents that we currently have in the game, and it's incredibly good. 30% HP is a lot, but luckily she can recover that with her Rush, and then the extra stun chance is also very good. Unfortunately, it only applies to long-range weapon allies, so that kinda sucks. And her third talent, Bridge Building, increases normal attack AP recovery by 100% when you're standing at close range, and reduces her AP cost by 15%. This is actually a really good talent because the AP cost reduction allows her to create a really deadly combo that she wouldn't be able to use otherwise, and normal attack AP recovery again allows her to fit into more parties, and plus, the only characters that usually need AP recovery like that are close range characters, so it works out. And her last talent, Obvious Jealousy, increases her attack stat by 15%. So this bumps her attack stat up to 2868, and that's actually very high for a sharpshooter, so it allows her to do some good damage. For her battle skills, we've got Whirling Severance, hurl a sword made of energy at your foe. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 170%, it does 2 hits and it costs 15 AP. This attack is kind of average, it's not that good, but it's also not too bad. It does have a lot of horizontal range, so it does help if you're fighting multiple enemies. And then we have Scattered Shot, hurl myriad swords of light at your foe. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 150%, it does 8 hits and it costs 13 AP. Now this is actually a very beautiful attack. Low AP cost, it comes out really quickly, and it does 8 hits. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but that's not what it's there for. This is mostly used for combo filler, and usually if you want to build the hit count you would use this, but Sophia has a much better attack for that. So use this for combo filler. And then we have Unholy Terror. Jump acrobatically and hurl an explosive knife at your foe. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 310%. It does 5 hits and it costs 29 AP. I'm kinda surprised this attack doesn't have an element to it, but it's not too bad, although it does leave you wide open and it is kind of slow, so you could use this as a combo finisher, but it's not very optimal. And then we have the Hand of God. Ravenous Fiend. Summon a hamster-like demon to pursue your foe. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 420%. It does 10 hits, costs 31 AP, and it has an earth element. This attack is incredible. It's one of the best attacks in the game, right next to Rain's Lava Floor. It does a ton of damage, it comes out incredibly quickly, it's very accurate, does a lot of hits, has good rush gain. It's kind of the thing that makes Youth Sophia stand out so much, and if you're going to use her, make sure that you bring this attack with you. And then lastly, we have her Rush, Bloodzilla. Summon the Demon King and drain your foe's HP. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 3500%, and as a post-rush buff, it recovers everybody's HP by 30% and increases their attack and int damage by 25% for 20 seconds. This rush is kind of underwhelming damage-wise, and that comes down to the fact that it only has a 3500% multiplier, which is kind of on the low end, and then her attack stat is not that high to begin with. It's high for a sharpshooter, but not high for rush damage, so I would put this somewhere near the start and towards the middle of the chain. But her post-rush buff actually isn't bad. It works very well with her talents. The 30% HP recovery means that everybody gets another proc of the Guts, so that's very nice, and the attack and in-damage increases are also really good because she is a damage buffer after all, and 25% is not bad. So overall, this is a really good rush, buff-wise at least. Sophia is actually kind of interesting because her best attack, Ravenous Fiend, already has an element imbued on it, so you don't really have to worry about elements, but I still recommend the Golden Bolt Destroyers as a free weapon, which imbue your attacks with lightning and increase attack stat. So even though you already have an element on Ravenous Fiend, it still wouldn't hurt to have lightning, especially if you're fighting a lightning boss. So this is a pretty good set of daggers. And then for one of her gacha weapons, I recommend the Luminous Laser Blade, which got introduced alongside her. It imbues your attacks with Dark, gives you AP recovery speed plus 30%, and at max limit break you unlock 5% extra attack. So the Dark imbuement is actually not that important, because not a lot of bosses are weak to Dark, but the AP recovery speed is actually really cool, because she doesn't get the normal attack AP recovery from herself. So having that standing AP recovery is very nice. And if you're looking for something a bit more gimmicky, you can run the Serpent Edges, which increase the hit counter by 0.5 seconds and have an ice element. So this is mostly for hit count based teams. But as I was saying, her Ravenous Fiend has an element imbued in it, which means that you can run any of these weapons. So the Shellbreaker swords increase damage dealt to insects, Slayer of Men increases damage dealt to humanoids, Minotaur against the beasts, and Suzaku against demons. So if you're fighting any of those types of bosses, you could very well run any one of these, and they're all obtained from the gacha. And then lastly, as an accessory, I recommend the Charm of Insight, which increases critical hit chance by 15% and damage by 10%. So Sophia does not have any form of critical buffing, but luckily she does pretty much cover everything else that our accessories can do, so this is kind of the only thing that's left for her. And now onto her battle skills. So first of all, I recommend Ravenous Fiend, because like I said, it's incredibly powerful and you have no reason not to run it. And then secondly, Scattered Shot, because you can use this to build your combo very easily because of its low AP costs. And your last skill is actually not that important because you're not going to be using it a lot. I recommend Whirling Severance because it kind of fills a different role than both of the other attacks that you have. You can use it against multiple enemies. You could run Unholy Terror, but it doesn't really do much that Ravenous Fiend can't do already, so you don't really have a reason to use it. And with this setup, you can create a combo like this: a normal attack into Ravenous Fiend, into Scattered Shot, into as many Ravenous Fiends as you can fit. So the goal here is to spam Ravenous Fiend as much as you can, and because of how it works, usually by the time the first Ravenous Fiend hits the enemy, you're already sitting at a 300% cancel bonus, which means that every Ravenous Fiend from that point on, including the first one, gains that 300%. So it means that your damage output is incredibly high, and your hit count building is also really good with this, as well as your rush gain. So this is kind of her best combo. So like I said before, Sophia has a very wide variety of buffs, which means you can put her into pretty much any party, which makes her very good for public play. But a pre-made party that I came up with looks like this. So we have Where Millie, first of all, who can buff attack for the entire party by 45% or 55% if the hit count is at 100 hits or more. She gives everybody AP recovery on normals, and she also increases elemental damage by 50% post-rush. And secondly, I recommend Rain, who can buff single target damage for the entire party by 20%. His Undermine skill debuffs the enemy's attack and defense by 10%, and he's also incredibly powerful. And to fill the last slot, I recommend a Max Awoken Celine, who can buff everybody with her new enhanced skill, and even in a party that's not made for her, she can still do a ton of damage. Technically, you could also put Invoker Sophia or Healer Sophia in that last slot if you want to run your full Sophia party, but that's all up to you. So Millie's attack buff is tied to a 100 hit count, but Youth Sophia should be able to build that herself with her Ravenous Fiend, and that will obviously help out Rain. And both Millie, Celine takes care of herself, and then with Enhance she can buff every other member of the party. Rain can debuff the enemy, which also increases damage output. The AP on normals helps out Rain, and then elemental damage just increases everybody's damage output by a lot. Now, unfortunately, the only problem that you're going to be facing with this party is that you don't have any form of healing, at least not consistent healing. Sophia does have that 30% heal on her rush, but that's kind of the only thing that you have, so you need to make sure that you have some form of healing in your accessory or your weapon. Youth Sophia is one of the best sharpshooters that we currently have in the game, and that comes down to a bunch of different things, most importantly her wide set of talents. She buffs damage, single target damage, she gives every long range ally a stun, which is very rare, buffs attack damage in damage and gives a heal, and she also gives the long range allies a guts, which is also really rare and it's very welcome. This means that she can fit in a bunch of different parties, and it makes her incredibly good in public play in particular. And another reason why she's so good is because of her Ravenous Fiand attack. Like I said, it's one of the best skills in the game, and it covers basically every base that a battle skill should cover. Rush gain, hit count building, damage output, it does like everything, and it made Youth Sophia single-handedly one of the best sharpshooters in the game. Now, as good as Youth Sophia is, she does have a flaw, and that's that she doesn't really do much for close-range allies. She can buff their AP recovery on normals, but usually the attack buffer can also do that, and attack buffers usually do it for the entire party. So the only thing that she gives to close-range allies is that 40% damage up, and 40% damage is kind of standard in the game now. There are a lot of close-range characters in this game, and a lot of the higher tier sharpshooters, like Vampire Victor and 9S, can actually do stuff for them, like give them lifesteal or increase their mobility, but Sophia unfortunately does no such thing, and that's kind of what holds her back, although she is a permanent character and she is very strong. So if you're a new player and you manage to pick up Youth Sophia, I recommend you raise her immediately because she is going to serve you very well. And that's it for my Youth Sophia guide. She's a pretty cool character overall, although when I heard Youth Sophia, I was expecting something else. Let's not go into that right now, but instead, I will ask you, who do you want to see next? I was thinking about doing maybe an awakened character next, so let me know who you want to see, and I guess I will see you all next time. Peace!